What's up, everybody? This is Miss Bull.
I go by Hush Forte.
Hey man, what's up? It's your boy Just John.
Hey, I'm Savannah Cristina.
Hey, this is Storm the Poet.
Hey, it's Serge. You're listening to Ballpoint.
Ballpoint with Bluapple
Blue Apple Poetry
Podcast.
Blue Apple Poetry Network. Bam.
We're here in Offerdals in Weston, Florida, and I got one of the most prolific and most poetic. I'm gonna just gas you up, right? So like, just one of the best artists in Broward County ever, Savannah Cristina.
Period.
So you want to tell a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, I think you said a lot. I mean, you might have said it all.
Wait, but before you do, let me just make sure I got my credentials right. So, from Broward County, Florida. Graduated from Stranahan High School, home of the Dragons.
Go Dragons. Yep. Well, you know your stuff.
A poet.
Yes.
Mango season.
Those are all correct. I'm from Broward County, Florida. I was born in Miami, stayed there till about second grade, moved to Broward, moved back to Miami, moved to Broward to stay. I graduated from Stranahan. That's where I first started doing poetry. Around my sophomore year, I actually started the school's first poetry club. So I was the president of the first ever poetry club.
Trendsetter.
With the help of Miss Wallace. I mean, the guidance of Miss Wallace, who still runs the poetry club there now.
Shout out Miss Wallace.
Yeah.
If you're listening. I hope you are.
And through that is where we met Blue Apple Poetry. They reached out to us and, implemented their structures within our schools and our poetry. And from there, it was history. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how I started. Of course, after the poetry, graduating, I went along to, write songs. I turned my poems into music. And now I'm a singer-songwriter. I have songs out that are doing numbers. I'm independent. And it's going great, and that's because I have such a strong foundation. So, yeah.
My! You said so many gems. Like I'm gonna kind of tackle on each one of those points, but I'm glad you just encapsulated what we're gonna talk about. So before we talk a little bit about you and your artistry, I want to talk about how this all started, right? So when was it you first picked up the pen and was like, I'm a writer, I do this for real?
It really started in high school. I was dating a rapper, and
of course, these damn rappers.
Yeah, I mean, think about where I'm at. I'm in the middle of Broward. I'm, near Sistrunk. I'm dating a rapper. I'm 14. It's mad rappers that I'm around. I'm going to the studio with him, and it's just a room full of rappers, and I'm listening to them spit, and I'm like, I could do this. I could totally do this. That's usually my attitude, anything that I see. I'm like, I could do this. So I started, and I remember when I first started writing, I was so nervous. My heart was just pumping. But after a while, I just got more and more comfortable. And so that's when it started. Luckily, our school, Stranahan, had a poetry slam. And I signed myself up, and I ended up placing in second. I lost to my boyfriend, actually, at the time. And from there, I was just like, damn, I really love this. I love the feeling. I love the way that it makes me feel. I love the environment. I love poetry slams. I love coffee shops. All that cozy stuff, that's my environment. So I just fell in love with the culture of poetry before anything.
Awesome.
And
so poetry was your first love, passion.
Yeah.
And how does that translate to the music? So now you say you also are a singer, songwriter.
Yeah.
So how did that translate to your music?
Yeah, well, it definitely it had me focus on lyrics over everything. I'm a talented singer. I have range, I have control, but my lyrics, that's what I take into account before anything. So poetry kind of just taught me about content. Really focus on what you're saying and make sure people listen and make sure that you make a point. So, with all my songs, they're all anthems because I go into the songwriting process with a goal and a point and intention. And that's, that's something I learned from poetry.
Awesome. Yeah, and I hear that in a lot of your music, right? Like you take like the most simplistic like idea of concept or like of music or of love or of a passion of yours and you make it so complex with like your metaphors and your delivery and your melodies and music and like you really speak to these listeners, and like the audience. A lot of times we listen to music nowadays and it's overly saturated with like trying to have like the coolest the flow or like the
Yeah.
coolest bars that's never been said
Yeah.
before. And sometimes the things that you say is just so real that people are
Yeah.
like, dang. Soul Ties is one of my
Yeah.
go-tos. I'm like, I play a song in the car. That song Soul Ties always gets me.
That song got me through a lot. I was in a dark place, and I love that creating can help us heal, And literally, it's taught me how to be my own healer. Like, it's times I'm crying, and I got to run to a song that I wrote so that I can get through it. And it's the weirdest feeling. It's so strange, but it's like, it really teaches you how to build yourself. And this song I dropped, Self-Care, it's like all just tools to use for life. And that's what music and poetry really should be. And so, yeah, that's why I do focus on lyrics, because you do hear a lot of people spitting raw stuff, but it doesn't transcend or it doesn't connect. Or you listen to it one time and you don't listen to it again because it's just like...
no replay value.
It's like, what really is this person saying? And not only that, is this person really about that, We have a lot of city girl content from women that aren't city girls. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not connecting because it's not real. So, I just speak my truth and I be transparent, even if it's, not the most greatest, proudest thing to think of, or if it's not cool, I still say it because you don't know who's going through it, men and women.
Right.
We need to be vulnerable. So.
Oh, that's crazy. I was just about to ask you. So, what keeps you sane in that space? Because you put a lot of your like personal feelings and like experiences for the viewers to listen to. So what keeps you not only vulnerable in that space, but being okay with like putting yourself out there and the experiences you've gone through?
Well, I mean, and most honestly, and maybe there's a better answer for this, but to be real, I compartmentalize a lot of my life. So I'm like, I have a lot of responsibilities, and Savannah Cristina, the student, is not the same as Savannah Cristina, the singer, and is not the same as Savannah Cristina, the sister. And I guess that's why people call me humble, or why I could come across as humble, because when people come at me while I'm being the student saying, whoa, you're such a dope artist, I'm kind of like, okay, thank you, because I'm not in that mode.
Right.
So when I compartmentalize, I'm able to be transparent, and it doesn't really embarrass me or shame me, because it's like, I left that in the studio.
Right.
And it's to the point, like I said, where it's like, I listen to Savannah Cristina, the artist, so I can get through my stuff. If that makes sense. There's like 5 of me, and they just all do their own thing. I don't put the burden of one on the other.
Right.
So it allows me to be free.
That's so important. Yeah. Like, and I'm glad you touched on that, because even myself, I'm trying to work on what was the word again? Compartmentalizing myself in different spaces, because I find myself putting on the hat in so many different places that like I'm jumbled, right? Like the musician is trying to battle like with the poet, or like even as far as that, like the student is writing poetry in an essay, and the teacher's like, yo, I need this to be as concise as possible. And I'm like, man, I can't separate the two.
Yeah.
So I would really love to like know how it is that you've gotten to the point where you're able to distinctly separate yourself from those moments, or like from those different parts of yourself, if you will.
Yeah. I think it's just because I just had to be that way in order to cope. It was a coping mechanism. So we all are just built by our experiences. And I lived a life where it was like you had to be able to separate yourself from things, from your pain or from your emotions or from your stress, in order for you to tackle what needed to be tackled next. It was really not an option. Feelings can get messy, and sometimes we can hold ourselves back. But if you split yourself into 5 different people, I mean, it sounds bad. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the Netflix film Whatever Happened to Monday.
Yes.
But it's just like, if you can split yourself into a few different people, it's like that person's tired, but this person here can still write a 5-page paper, and this person's gonna go to the gym, and that person is going to smile. So it's like, that's just been my coping mechanism, and it's been working for me. So, it's hard in interpersonal relationships sometimes when you're dating people. you got to kind of work on those type of things. But
for sure.
you
So
know,
we're
I'm
going to get
working
into
on
the
it.
dating. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to touch on
Please
that.
don't.
But I love what you said about like the analogy to that movie, What Happens to Monday, and splitting yourself up. Another movie I was thinking of was Split, which we're not emphasizing split personalities by any means or those things. We're kind of just talking about compartmentalizing ourselves and being able to like differentiate when I'm Savannah the student, Savannah the poet, Savannah the musician. So soulful, metaphoric Savannah, like who is your biggest inspiration? It could be now or back then as far as music, poetry.
When it came to poetry, the first poem that I saw that really got me was by Aja Monet. I was young, and she had a poem called "Is That All You Got?" And that poem like spoke to me. And I was probably like 14, 15 at the time. So that's what kind of got me like, yo. And she had a book in her hand. And, you know, if you know, like my first slam, I won my first slam with a book in my hand. Like she kind of taught me, like, it's okay to read off the book. Just make it look good.
Yeah.
So poetry-wise, Aja Monet. Musically, Beyonce, of course, because she's a GOAT. She embodies everything, you know what I mean? Performance, physical, like, talent, like everything is on point with Beyonce. So that's the only person I really look to. And then I think everybody else just falls underneath those two, like those two top tiers. And Drake, I love Drake only because Drake is so transparent with his past relationships. He don't care who he offend. He gonna start naming names.
Right.
And I love that.
He's
like,
very
because it's times I'm like, I have songs I'm like, damn, I think the person is gonna know it's about them, and I really hope they don't get mad. And it's like I just completely am like, whatever, I don't care. Drake doesn't care, you know.
Right.
So
We gonna name drop.
I'll never name drop only because I don't do free promo. But
Come on, say it twice.
that's the only reason why. You're gonna have to pay me to name drop. But you know, it's just Drake. So Drake, Beyonce, Aja Monet. Those are like my inspirations. You know, we got the oldies, Ella Fitzgerald, and you know the people that just influence you inadvertently. But those are the three people I look up to.
Awesome. So flash forwarding from 14, 15-year-old Savannah to your first ever project, Faded. Am I correct?
Yeah, you are.
First ever music project. What is the story behind Faded?
Faded is basically, so faded has a lot of different terms to it. Of course, faded means, you know, fading away, the opacity is going. Then, of course, you have in the urban community, faded is like you lit, you drunk, you high, you faded. So it was a mixture of those two things. I felt like I was losing myself in a lifestyle that I was not ready for. And, you know, there was a lot of addiction, there was a lot of drug use, there was a lot of prescription medication, there was a lot of alcohol, and it was just like, honestly, in my memory fade, I can't remember a lot of things that happened in that time. So I really just felt dull. I felt like I lost all my color, all my vibrant. I felt like I was losing myself. So Faded came from that. And that was like a 6-song project. To be honest, I was in such a dark place. I can't listen to that project. I haven't listened to it in a long time because it was so like dark. But that was my first project. I did that with the New Miami, Akeem. I literally, that project was made in somebody's bedroom.
Right.
I had never been in a studio. Yeah. And it sounds fire. The quality is beautiful. And that taught me too, like you don't need the optics. You don't need you don't need to go to Circle House. You can just make it happen. Which inspired, of course, not to jump the gun, but the series I have going on now where I'm doing my songs in different locations just to show people not the technicalities of recording, but the concept of don't let anything stop you, and you can create anywhere. You can pick up a book and write on the plane. You can write at work. You don't have to limit yourself to, you know, a creative space per se.
Right.
So
that's awesome. So, like you said, it takes a lot out of you to listen to that project. Is it because it takes you to that place or that space you were in when you wrote and recorded these songs?
100%. I mean, like I said, I compartmentalize pieces of me. I compartmentalize times. I almost disassociated myself from the girl that I was. And I'm hurting for her because she lives within that music. You know what I mean? Music never dies, and things that you make live on. You know, that essence, that feeling is forever. So, you know, I kind of had to step away from her and be like, you're hurting. You're not hurting anymore. So I can't take that on. So it's like, you know.
Awesome. Real therapeutic. I love that. And so after Faded, we go on into Mango Season. Yeah. Which is like one of my favorite projects, like all time, honestly. Thank you. I think shout out to Ja Rule. My favorite song is Worth It.
That's a lot of people's favorite song.
And
A
like,
lot of people.
I feel like, so I'm not like trying to like tell you how your project went, but I think like for me, interpretalizing it, is that a word? Interpretalizing?
Interpreting.
Analyzing. Let's just
Oh,
use that.
okay.
Analyzing
Okay.
the album, just as an artist myself, I feel like that project jumped to a lot of like self-confidence, like, and it's crazy because you talk about Faded being like the dark moment, and then Mango Season was such a like, I'm figuring myself out. I don't got it all figured out yet, but I'm
right.
learning who I am, and I think Worth It like spoke to not only like the teen women growing up, but even older women that still are dealing with these battles that they may have had of like self-worth, or like somebody putting them down and telling them they're not good enough. So what did that album or EP or mixtape do for you? Like, how did that work for you?
Yeah, you make a great point. It really was almost like, it was like the color was coming back. It was like the season was coming back. It was like Faded, the dark blues and the sadness. It was turning into like sweet, and yeah, everything wasn't perfect. Yeah, everything wasn't ready, but it was on its way. It is on its way. So that's definitely what Mango Season meant. I got the pleasure of working with producers that I've met in real life. Everybody I had met in real life, including Jara, who did the final song, like the big ender for Mango Season, the song Worth It, which I actually incorporated poetry into. So Mango Season was just on some like, it was the intention of growing and getting better. And it helped me as well. It had a positive effect on my life because, you have songs like Single, where it's like, I feel so much better when I'm single. So every time I felt alone, I'll play Single. Like, okay, girl, you good. It's just like, it's therapy, it's life coach, and it was inspiring, it was positive.
And so Mango Season, like why mangoes, right? Like I remember specifically, like you had a video, music party,
Oh yeah.
where you even like the release of the album, you had people come and bring mangoes.
Yeah. The admission fee was a mango. Shout out to Miami Warehouse, that's now the Hippie Haven. We did that, and it was just because I wanted everybody to listen to the tape with an open mind. I didn't want anybody to have their nose up or their guards up. So I'm like, if you went out your way to pick a mango out from the store off a tree to come to this event, I already have, your guard is down now. Your guard is down. Like, you are not, you'll have some spectators, but you're not going to be a spectator. You came with a mango. Yeah. So that was the admission fee. We got a lot of mangoes. And I just chose Mango Season because, of course, I'm a Florida girl. I love mangoes. And, it's just a term we use in the South when people have more maturing to do. We say, they got a few more mango seasons left on them. So that was kind of like, okay, this is my mango season. This is my maturity season. I'm going to call this Mango Season.
Awesome.
So
So you say you're a Florida girl. Shout out to all the Florida girls listening to this.
Right.
So you dropped, right before the album Florida Girl, you dropped like one of the biggest Broward County singles to ever take place in Broward County, because it like set the tone, juking, sticking, vibing. Like that song alone just has so much culture in it. So
Yes.
how do you feel when you listen to Florida Boy?
I'm super proud. That's my baby. When I hear that song, I'm like, DJs spin it like when I'm coming to a show, or they'll spin it and send it to me, and it did exactly what I wanted it to do. Shout out to Black, who produced it, and we worked hand in hand making that happen. I wanted it to be timeless. You listen to the grind modes and the piccolo, and you just like, yo, we want one for our era, so we can look back and we can tell our kids, yo, that dropped when I was here.
Right.
So it's like, that was the point with Florida Boy. That was my intention. I came in it with an intention, and that intention was fulfilled, and it's something that nobody could ever take away from me. So it's like, I'm really happy about Florida Boy. Like, it is what it is.
Right, and that's the record I still hear in the clubs. I hear
Yeah.
people playing it in Wynwood and playing it at their birthday parties for their
Yeah.
6-year-old. Like,
Yeah.
it just transpires through all different types of settings and atmospheres. Like, you could play that at a birthday party, you could play that in the club, you could play that at a wedding. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. You're doing great things. So Florida Girl, tell me a little bit about that project.
Florida Girl is an interesting project because I wrote it at a time where, I'm 21, I'm experiencing things, I'm going through different emotions, and each song is kind of like its own emotion. It's just about discovering life. It wasn't a happy or sad, it was just a discovering life. You have songs like Get Right that talks about, really just promiscuity and finding yourself and not committing to anyone and just committing to being you and doing what you want to do. And you have songs like Midnight, that's like a different, like a house mix. You got songs like Dorm Room, which, you know, obviously inspired by me living in a dorm and not being happy, being uncomfortable, just the day-to-day things that women go through. Yeah, that was a very interesting project. Get Right is one of them songs I get emotional when I listen to it because I know the place I was in when I wrote it. Right. And yeah, it was very interesting.
You didn't talk much about my one of my favorite songs from the project.
On.
VIP.
Oh.
Come on, that's my joint right there.
Yeah, shout out to the Pushers. They sent me a beat, and as soon as I heard the hook, I'm like, okay, I already know. Like, as soon as I heard the song, I knew what the hook was going to be. And yeah, VIP is interesting. It's almost like a cater to you vibes. It's just like, you know, let me run your shower because you just got off for work. It's just like, let me love you. This is the VIP. I'm going to treat you special. Like, you know, I thought that was a good thing to talk about because, you know, I have a lot of songs where I'm like, I hate men and da-da-da-da. But I'm not always like that. Like, you know, it was a softer side. It was a more loving side. So I like VIP.
Yeah, me
Interesting. Yeah.
So take me through your creative method. I know, obviously, there's no one select way to do it right, or there's no one select way that Savannah Cristina herself may do every song or approach every song. But can you tell me at least the basis of what some of the things that you do to prepare yourself for these studio sessions or for these writing exercises, or even just to get out of, like, okay, I just released something crazy in the studio and I need to just like take a second to debrief. So what are some of the self-care methods that you take in those processes?
Yeah, well, I mean, to bring it back again, compartmentalizing. That helps me get through a lot of stuff. Like, yeah, girl, you just dropped a banging jookin' song, but different person now. I need you to drop something soft and sad. Like, you know, like just being able to step out of myself and experience new things and explore and just like be really experimental. My writing process in the studio, I listen to beats. Listen to beats until when it catches me, I load it up, I freestyle. Once I do my freestyle, the song's pretty much done. Then we go through and we fix all the little things. Like Rebound was a freestyle. And, you know, you go and you just fix the certain words that you couldn't fill in the blanks to. And then there's a song. I rarely ever leave a song unfinished, only because I want to catch that feeling in that exact moment. If I come back later, it's not going to be the same. So I would pretty much complete a song every time I leave the studio. There's a song done. It might not be my favorite song, but I finish it because most times I like it later. So I just make sure it gets done.
Yeah, that's fire. So tell me about the series you got going on. You mentioned Rebound. So you recorded that on a basketball court.
Yes, and that basketball court is in the neighborhood I grew up in. I mean, I've been on that court since I was 6 years old, playing with my dad. My dad played basketball. So it's like with the series, the main point of it, like I said, and so Rebound is on the basketball court. You know, I called up my homie. He brought his camera, and shout out to Kwame and One Island, and we did that, and then we just did one on the beach. And the point of it, and it's all artistic interpretation. So the point of it, like I said, is just to show people, like, in my life, I'm like, I don't even have time to really do a lot of things. So I'm creating any way I can, by any means, wherever I'm at. That's kind of like the truth of my life. I'm always on the go, and like, you know, you got to make time for what you want to do. So that's the point of the series. I'm really excited about it. It's been going up. It's been going viral. I mean, and before that, the What You Won't Do video, you know, that went viral too. So it's just like, you know, I don't got no flashy chains. I don't got no Fendi on. I don't got no Gucci. You know, I don't have all of that, but me being authentic is it's resonating with the people, and that's what I'm happy about.
So I know I've been hounding you, like, you know, question after question with your music and what you've been doing and all the great things that you've accomplished, you know. And so what can you say about the journey getting from Faded, or even before that, Word Up and the poetry slams and the, you know, the writing with, you know, the boyfriend and to where you are right now? Like, how's the journey been for you? Has it been tough? Have you been, you know, have you learned from it?
Yeah, no, I mean, of course, you know, there's good times, there's bad times, but when I look back on everything, it's like, I can look back and be like, wow, that was God's divine plan. like this happened thing, like that God really just, that's supposed to, heartbreak, all that is like was supposed to happen. And I'm identifying that so much that now when I go through things, I'm like, I'm gonna look back on this and know that this was part of the plan. Like if tomorrow, God forbid, something happens, my car breaks down, I'm gonna be mad in the moment, but I can still have the faith that this is happening for a reason and it'll get better because it has before. So like I'm really happy about my journey, and I'm excited to talk to the youth and give back, because I'm thankful for everything I've gone through at this young age, because I have a lot of fans that are old enough to be my mom, that are going through things that I went through at 18, 19, 20, 21. So God is really giving me the privilege to experience all of these things very young. So now I could just focus on creating, and I don't have to learn a lesson that I already learned, So,
Right.
yeah.
I commend you for that, like, maturity. So what advice would you give to any listener out there that may be trying to become an artist, or may try to get more vulnerable in their work, or is a poet but doesn't know or doesn't want to release their music or their poetry to people? What advice could you give to them?
I mean, I always tell my friends, my creative friends, and even the kids I'm working with now, like, if you leave this earth, ain't nobody dropping that poem for you. Ain't nobody dropping that song. That big gonna sit in your book. It's gonna sit on your computer. Nobody's ever gonna hear it, and that's it. Nobody's gonna drop it for you. So you gotta make it happen. Also, I tell people, don't be so hard on yourself. And I also say, if you don't drop it in a certain window of time, you're gonna outgrow that piece of work, and you're never gonna wanna like share it. Like, I take pride in listening to my old songs that sound a little less of quality than my songs now, because I can see my growth. But imagine I'm waiting, years to drop one thing. Like, I'll never be able to see where I came from. That's my thing. And I also say, when it comes to creating, is just, you got to block out all the outside noise. If you watch my series, you see the basketball players in the background, you see the waves, you see how I'm just ignoring it. And that's literally a metaphor for my life. I block out the noise, and people get mad at me. I don't text back, I don't call, I don't do none of that, because I really believe life is about focusing on yourself. Yes, help people. Yes, I'm the type to send money. I'm the type to pull up. But when it comes to people's opinions or like what matters most, I believe that I am priority. And if I don't make sure I'm good, nobody's going to make sure I'm good. If I don't think my music is good, nobody's going to think it's good. You know what I mean? So you got to kind of be your star player, like Cat Williams says. You got to focus on your star player, and everything else from there will manifest itself. How you feel about yourself will manifest itself physically. So, yeah, just quiet out all the noise. Just focus on you. If you like the song, drop it. If 6 people listen to it, whatever. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? Because there's probably one person that played it 6 times, and they love that song, and they need it when they get off of work. So, yeah, just focus on you.
I always tell my students, or I tell people that I perform with, or whatever the case, right? At a performance, like, it could be 5 people in the room, right? It could be 500, 5,000, 50,000, whatever it may be. If you just tap into that one person and you touch that one person's life or that one person's heart, you've done your job in a sense. So, like, I talk with a lot of my friends, and one thing I realize is that we don't give art its responsibility back. Like, I hear that, me and my friends have talks about it all the time, and it's crazy because we don't realize how much art and people's own emotion and expressions through different ways can relate to somebody else. Right? We oftentimes think like, oh, I'm the only one going through this, or I'm the only one that's feeling this type of way, or nobody will ever understand what happened to me in this particular incident. But a lot of times, like, there is somebody there just waiting to hear that from somebody else, to get that validation from somebody else that they've also gone through this. So it's really interesting to hear you say that. What can we expect from, like, future Savannah Cristina? Like, what's some of the things? And you don't gotta spoil us, but
I don't even know. I couldn't even spoil it if I wanted to. But you see me. I was rapping in What You Want to Do. I definitely want to get a little bit more. Try a little bit more of the rap realm, I guess, in my music, because I'm so good at it, and I just need to embody it. More poetry incorporated into my music. Just really outlining everything that I am, almost like no longer compartmentalizing my art forms and kind of putting them all in one, without doing too much. Y'all can expect more visuals, because I think that people are loving the visuals, and expect more of getting to know who I am and getting familiar with who Savannah Cristina is. I said the same thing twice in different ways. But yeah.
So I don't even care if you drop this on all streaming platforms or if you just send this to me personally, but I really want to hear like a poetry project from you. Like
That's interesting.
poetry. Like yeah, it can have a beat, it can have music, but like just hearing that side of Savannah and like the writer and like which obviously your music is poetry. By
Of
no means
course.
am I like putting anything at a higher standard, but you know, it's beauty in that telling, just talking to the people sometimes and
Yeah.
telling them about whatever circumstances or situations you've gone through. Of course, you have a beautiful voice and like you catch me just alone from hearing you hit a note, right? Like, and that gravitates me towards your music, but definitely like hearing a poetry album from you. So you heard it
That'd
first
be interesting.
from your boy, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
If-
executive producer.
Face-
Just done. Okay.
Face that.
Right. Nah, you're right, 100%. I mean, it's one thing to sing, but to be talking to people, that's a totally different animal. And I'm so glad to be, in contact with the Jason Taylor Foundation that remind me, remember your roots. And this is still a part of your identity. You don't have to give it up. So, I'm definitely, working alongside with you guys and the kids and everything. It's reminding me, I'm sitting there writing with the kids, like reminding me how I started. And that piece of me is still there, and I could definitely still do that. So I got to practice, but that's not a bad idea.
That's fire.
It's not a bad idea.
Savannah Cristina, the poet, singer,
Right.
songwriter, teaching artist, Broward County's finest,
Mm.
mother to many, you feel me? Sister, auntie, whatever it may be, grandma.
I'm done. I gotta go.
It's been
Yeah.
a pleasure, being able to talk to you and walk through your journey, and I just expect great things from you. And, always my day one homie.
Period.
Um,
They don't even know.
right.
Right.
Anything else you want to let them know?
I mean, y'all check out the music, man. Y'all check out the visuals. Savannah Cristina. I'm available on all major platforms. Some people be like, where are you at? I can't find you. I'm on Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, DatPiff, My Mixtapes, YouTube. Anywhere that there's music, you can find me on Tidal. So, just take a look for yourself and check it out, and you'll find a song that you can connect with. So, just listen.
That is Savannah.Cristina on Instagram, and find her on all social media platforms. Thank you, Savannah. You're awesome.
Thank you.
And I just wish nothing but the best for you. Feel me?
You already
This is
know.
Ballpoint with Blue Apple Poetry Podcast, recording live from Offer Dolls. Shout out to Offer Dolls for letting us be here in such a
It
great
was
space.
good food, yeah.
Yeah, it's real like eco-friendly. Like we got grass on the wall, literally.
Okay.
Y'all should definitely come check. All right, this ain't about Offer Dolls.
Right.
But thank you for being here, and thank you for listening. And if you're listening to it, this is Ballpoint with Blue Apple Poetry Podcast. I'm your host, Just John, with the Jason Taylor Foundation, Blue Apple Poetry Network. Shout out to Omari. Shout out to Jason Taylor. Shout out to everybody who brought us to where we are now.